The red sky of planet Velthara burned like fire as the Dragon Emperor flew across the clouds. Her name was Mirai, and she was the most powerful dragon in the entire galaxy. For 3 days and 3 nights she had been searching for her baby. Her child was not like other dragon babies. While all dragon children had golden scales that shined in the sunlight, her baby had silver scales. Silver scales were very rare. In fact, no dragon had been born with silver scales in over 1,000 years. Mirai was worried. Her baby was small and weak. Without protection, the little dragon could not survive for long. The planet below was dangerous. There were wild beasts, poisonous plants, and worst of all, there was a human settlement. Dragons did not trust humans. Humans were small and weak, but they were clever. They built machines and weapons. They destroyed planets to take resources. Dragons and humans had been enemies for hundreds of years. Far below, in the human colony, a man named Jiwan was working. Jiwan was an engineer. His job was to fix the machines that kept the colony running. The colony was small, with only 200 humans living there. They had come to Velthara 5 years ago to mine crystals from deep underground. The crystals were valuable and could power starships for long journeys. That morning, Jiwan went down to the maintenance tunnels. These tunnels ran under the entire colony like a spider's web. They were dark and cold. Jiwan carried a flashlight and his tool bag. He was checking the power cores that gave electricity to the colony. As he walked through the narrow tunnel, he heard a sound. It was soft, like a kitten crying. Jiwan stopped and listened. The sound came again. It was coming from near the main power core. Jiwan walked slowly toward the sound. He pointed his flashlight at the corner of the tunnel. There, curled up next to the warm power core, was a small creature. It was the size of a cat, with scales that shimmered like liquid silver. The creature had tiny wings folded against its body. Its eyes were closed and it was breathing slowly. Jiwan's heart began to beat fast. He knew what this creature was. It was a dragon baby. But what was it doing here? Dragons never came close to human settlements. And why was it alone? Dragon parents always protected their children. Something was very wrong. The baby dragon opened its eyes slightly. They were bright blue like the ocean. The creature looked at Jiwan and made a weak sound. It was dying. Jiwan could see that the dragon was very sick. Its silver scales were dull and its breathing was difficult. He knew he should report this to the colony commander. Dragons were dangerous. Even baby dragons could call their parents and then the whole colony would be destroyed. But Jiwan could not leave the baby dragon to die. He had always loved animals. Even as a child on Earth, he had brought home injured birds and sick dogs. His mother had always said he had a soft heart. Now, looking at this small, suffering creature, Jiwan made a choice. He took off his jacket and carefully wrapped it around the baby dragon. The creature was cold, so cold that Jiwan was surprised it was still alive. He picked up the dragon carefully and held it close to his chest. The baby dragon made a small sound and pressed against him, seeking warmth. Jiwan quickly walked back through the tunnels. He had to be careful. If anyone saw him carrying a dragon, they would take it away. They might even kill it. Humans feared dragons, and fear made people do terrible things. Jiwan reached his small apartment in the colony. It was just one room with a bed, a table, and a small kitchen. He lived alone. Most engineers in the colony lived alone because the work was hard and the days were long. Jiwan placed the baby dragon on his bed and covered it with blankets. The creature was shivering. Its silver scales had lost almost all their shine. Jiwan did not know what dragons ate. He searched on his computer for information about dragons, but there was not much. Most of what he found was about how to fight dragons, not how to care for them. He decided to try different things. First, he tried giving the dragon water. The baby dragon licked a few drops, but then turned away. Next, he tried food paste, the kind that astronauts ate. The dragon did not want it. Hours passed. Jiwan tried everything he could think of. He even crushed some of the crystals from the mine and mixed them with water. Dragons were creatures of energy and magic. Maybe they needed minerals that humans did not need. He carefully fed the mixture to the baby dragon using a small dropper. At first, nothing happened. Then the dragon's scales began to glow just a little. It worked. For the next 2 days, Jiwan stayed in his room. He told his supervisor he was sick. Every few hours, he fed the baby dragon the crystal mixture. Slowly, the dragon began to get stronger. Its scales started to shine again. It could lift its head and look around. Sometimes it would make small chirping sounds like a bird. Jiwan felt happy watching the dragon get better. He even gave it a name in his mind, though he knew he could not keep it. He would have to find a way to return it to its family. But how? He could not just walk outside with a dragon and hope its mother would find it. Dragon parents were dangerous. They would attack first and ask questions later. On the third day, something happened. Jiwan woke up to a loud alarm. The emergency sirens were blaring through the colony. He ran to his window and looked up at the sky. His blood turned cold. High above, blocking out the red sun, was a massive dragon. It was 10 times bigger than any ship the humans had. Its scales were pure gold and they reflected light like a mirror. The dragon opened its mouth and roared. The sound shook the buildings. Jiwan knew who this was. This was the Dragon Emperor. This was the mother of the baby dragon he had saved. And she had come to find her child. The colony exploded into chaos. People ran in every direction, screaming and shouting. Children cried. Parents grabbed their families and rushed toward the underground shelters. The defense systems came online with a whirring sound. Large guns rose from hidden spots on the buildings. They pointed at the dragon in the sky, but everyone knew these weapons would do nothing against the Dragon Emperor. Jiwan stood frozen at his window. Behind him on his bed, the baby dragon woke up. It made a loud chirping sound, much louder than before. The baby dragon seemed excited. It recognized its mother. Jiwan's hands shook. He had to make a decision fast. If he hid the baby dragon, the Emperor might destroy the entire colony looking for it. If he brought the dragon outside, the Emperor might kill him for taking her child. But Jiwan knew what he had to do. He carefully picked up the baby dragon and held it close. The little creature looked up at him with its bright blue eyes. It made a soft purring sound and touched his face with its small nose. In just 3 days, the dragon had learned to trust him. Jiwan felt tears in his eyes. He did not want anything bad to happen to this little creature. He walked out of his apartment and into the main corridor. Everyone had already gone to the shelters. The hallway was empty. Emergency lights flashed red. The alarm continued to scream. Jiwan walked toward the main exit. His legs felt heavy, like he was walking through water. He was afraid, but he kept moving. Outside, the air was hot and dry. The wind blew dust everywhere. Jiwan looked up and saw the Dragon Emperor descending. She was coming down fast, like a meteor falling from space. Other dragons appeared in the sky behind her. There were hundreds of them. They circled above the colony like vultures waiting for death. This was the Dragon Fleet, the most feared military force in the galaxy. The Dragon Emperor landed in the center of the colony plaza. The ground shook when her massive claws touched down. She was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Her golden scales covered her entire body like armor. Her wings were so large they could cover 3 buildings. Her eyes glowed like fire. When she breathed, smoke came from her nostrils. Jiwan walked slowly toward her. Every step felt like it might be his last. The baby dragon in his arms began chirping loudly. It was calling to its mother. The Dragon Emperor's head snapped toward the sound. Her enormous eyes locked onto Jiwan. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Everything was silent except for the wind. Then the Dragon Emperor moved. She crossed the plaza in 2 massive steps. Her claws left deep marks in the ground. She lowered her giant head until it was level with Jiwan. Her breath was hot and smelled like fire and metal. Jiwan could see his reflection in her golden scales. He expected her to kill him. He closed his eyes and waited for the end. But death did not come. Instead, he heard a sound. It was the baby dragon. The little creature was purring loudly and trying to reach toward its mother. Jiwan opened his eyes. The Dragon Emperor was staring at him, but not with anger. She looked confused. She looked at her baby, then at Jiwan, then back at her baby again. Something was wrong. The baby dragon was not leaving Jiwan's arms. It stayed pressed against his chest, purring and happy. Usually, dragon babies would immediately fly to their parents when they saw them. But this one did not. It seemed happy where it was, safe in Jiwan's arms. Suddenly, the Dragon Emperor began to change. Her massive body shrank. Her scales disappeared. In seconds, she transformed into a humanoid form. She now looked like a tall woman with golden hair and golden eyes. She wore armor made of dragon scales. Even in this smaller form, she was impressive and beautiful. Many dragons could take humanoid form, but only the most powerful ones could do it quickly. Mirai, the Dragon Emperor, stepped closer to Jiwan. She spoke in perfect human language. Her voice was strong but not loud. Human, she said. You hold my child. Explain yourself before I turn you to ash. Jiwan's mouth was dry. He tried to speak, but no words came out at first. He swallowed and tried again. I found her, he said. His voice shook. She was dying in the tunnels. I tried to help. I fed her. I kept her warm. I did not steal her. I promise. Mireille's golden eyes narrowed. She looked at her daughter carefully. The baby dragon was healthy now. Its silver scales shined brightly. It looked much better than it had 3 days ago. Mireille could sense that her child had been very sick. She could also sense that someone had cared for it with great effort. Why? Mireille asked. Why did you help a dragon? Humans and dragons are enemies. You could have let her die. You could have used her as a hostage. Why risk your life to save her? Jiwan looked down at the baby dragon in his arms. Because she needed help, he said simply. I could not let her die. It would not be right. Mireille stared at him for a long moment. She had lived for thousands of years. She had seen many humans. Most were greedy. They wanted power, money, or resources. They lied and cheated. They killed without mercy. But this human seemed different. He had risked everything to save her child, and he wanted nothing in return. She reached out her hand slowly. Give her to me, she commanded. Jiwan felt his heart break a little. He had known this moment would come. He carefully held out the baby dragon toward Mireille, but something strange happened. The baby dragon did not want to go. It held onto Jiwan's shirt with its small claws. It made a distressed sound and pressed harder against him. Mireille's eyes went wide with shock. This is impossible, she whispered. She reached out again and tried to take her daughter. But the baby dragon cried out in pain. Its silver scales began to lose their shine. The little creature started breathing hard like it could not get enough air. Mireille pulled her hand back quickly and the baby dragon immediately calmed down. Its scales began to shine again. Mireille took a step back. Her face showed emotions that Jiwan could not read. Was it fear? Surprise? He did not know. Around them more dragons began to land. They surrounded Jiwan and the Emperor. They looked angry. Some of them growled low in their throats. Then an old dragon landed near Mireille. He also transformed into humanoid form. He was an elderly man with white hair and wise eyes. His name was Hyunwoo, and he was Mireille's oldest advisor. He had lived for 5,000 years and knew many secrets. Hyunwoo looked at the baby dragon, then at Jiwan, then at Mireille. His eyes went wide. My Empress, he said quietly. The prophecy. It is happening. Mireille turned to him sharply. What are you saying? Hyunwoo pointed at the baby dragon. Look at her scales. Look at the markings. Mireille looked closely at her daughter. There, on the baby dragon's silver scales, were patterns that had not been there before. Ancient symbols glowed faintly. These were marks from the old times, from before even Mireille was born. A life bond. Hyunwoo breathed. The human saved her with his own life force. They are connected now. If they separate, both will die. The plaza fell into complete silence. Every dragon stared at Jiwan and the baby dragon in his arms. The silence was heavy and uncomfortable. Jiwan did not understand what was happening. He did not know about life bonds or ancient prophecies. He only knew that the baby dragon seemed to need him and he could not let her down. Mireille looked at Hyunwoo with disbelief. A life bond? With a human? That should not be possible. Life bonds only happen between dragons, and even then it is extremely rare. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Yes, it should not be possible. But look at the evidence before us. Your daughter will not leave the human. When you tried to take her, she became sick immediately. The bond is real, Empress. And if the old texts are correct, this changes everything. One of the younger dragons, a fierce warrior named Daiho, stepped forward. His scales were dark red like blood. He pointed at Jiwan with anger in his voice. This human has used magic to trap the princess. He has enslaved her. We should kill him and break the spell. Several other dragons roared in agreement. They did not like humans. They did not trust them. To them, this looked like a trick. Jiwan held the baby dragon closer to his chest. He was ready to die protecting her if he had to. But Mireille raised her hand and all the dragons fell silent immediately. When the Dragon Emperor commanded silence, everyone obeyed. She looked at Jiwan carefully. Human, what is your name? Jiwan, he answered. His voice was quiet but steady. Jiwan, Mireille repeated. Tell me exactly what happened. Tell me everything. Do not leave out any detail, no matter how small. So Jiwan told his story. He explained how he found the baby dragon in the maintenance tunnels. He described how sick she was, how her scales were dull and her breathing was weak. He told them about trying different foods and finally discovering that the crystal mixture helped. He explained how he stayed with her for 3 days, feeding her and keeping her warm. When he finished, Hyunwoo asked a question. "Did you give her your blood?" Jiwon looked surprised. "Yes," he said. On the 2nd day, she stopped breathing. I panicked. I remembered reading somewhere that some animals could be revived with a blood transfusion. I did not know if it would work with dragons, but I had to try. I cut my hand and let a few drops of blood fall into her mouth. She started breathing again. Hyunwoo closed his eyes and nodded. That is when the bond formed. When you gave your blood freely without expecting anything in return, you created a life debt. In dragon culture, a life debt is sacred. It is the strongest bond that can exist. Usually it only happens between dragons who save each other in battle. But in ancient times, before the wars between dragons and humans, life bonds sometimes formed between our species. It has not happened in over 3,000 years. Mirai looked troubled. She walked in a circle, thinking hard. The other dragons watched her carefully. They were waiting for her decision. According to dragon law, she should destroy the human colony and take her daughter back by force. But if what Hyunwoo said was true, breaking the bond would kill both her daughter and this human named Jiwon. From the tunnels under the colony, people began to emerge. They had heard the talking and realized there was no fighting. They were curious and scared. Among them was a young woman named Yoonji. She was Jiwon's friend and co-worker. She was also a scientist who studied alien life forms. Yoonji pushed through the crowd until she stood near Jiwon. She held a scanner in her hand. The scanner could detect energy patterns and life signs. She had been monitoring everything from the shelter. "Commander," she called out to the colony's military leader. "The scanner shows something incredible. The baby dragon and Jiwon have the same energy signature. Their life forces are synchronized. They are literally sharing life energy." The colony commander, an old soldier named Taeyang, stepped forward. He was a tall man with gray hair and many scars. He had fought in the war against the dragons 20 years ago. He did not trust them. He looked at Mirai with hard eyes. "Dragon Emperor," he said formally. "What are your intentions? Will you destroy our colony?" Mirai looked at him, then at Jiwon, then at her daughter. The baby dragon had fallen asleep in Jiwon's arms, purring softly. She looked peaceful and happy. Mirai had never seen her daughter so calm. Since birth, the little dragon had been nervous and scared. Other dragon children were playful and confident, but not her silver-scaled daughter. Young Seo, as Mirai called her, had always been different. "I do not know yet," Mirai answered honestly. "By dragon law, I should punish you for harboring royal blood. But this human saved my daughter's life. He created a bond that cannot be broken. If I kill him, my daughter dies. If I take my daughter by force, both of them will die." Hyunwoo spoke again. "There is more, Empress. You must know the full truth." He turned to address all the dragons present. The old prophecy speaks of a silver child born to the royal line. This child would bridge 2 worlds and bring peace to the galaxy. But the prophecy says this can only happen if the silver child is saved by one who gives without knowing the gift. This human did not know about the prophecy. He did not know about life bonds. He simply saw a creature in need and helped. He gave without knowing what he would receive. Murmurs spread through both the dragon and human crowds. Many dragons knew the prophecy, but most thought it was just a legend, a story to tell children. Now, seeing the evidence before them, they began to wonder if it might be true. Daeho, the warrior dragon, was not convinced. "Even if the prophecy is real, why should we trust humans? They have killed our kind. They have destroyed dragon nests and stolen our eggs. This could all be an elaborate trap." Taeyang, the human commander, spoke up. "And dragons have burned our colonies. You have destroyed our ships and killed our families. Neither side has clean hands in this war, but maybe this is a chance to end it." The 2 groups stared at each other. Centuries of hatred stood between them. But in the middle of that hatred, a young human engineer held a baby dragon, and that baby dragon trusted him completely. It was such a simple thing, and yet it was powerful. Mirai made a decision. "Hyunwoo, examine my daughter thoroughly. I want to know everything about this bond. I want to know if it can be broken safely." Hyunwoo approached Jiwon slowly. He held out his hands in a peaceful gesture. "May I examine the child?" He asked politely. Jiwon nodded. He trusted the old dragon more than the others. There was wisdom and kindness in Hyunwoo's eyes. The old dragon placed his hands near the baby dragon without touching her. His hands began to glow with soft white light. Ancient magic older than human civilization flowed from him. He examined the baby dragon carefully, and he examined Jiwon too. After several minutes, Hyunwoo stepped back. His face was serious. The bond is complete and permanent. It cannot be broken without killing both of them. More than that, this is not an ordinary life bond. This is a nexus bond. I have only read about such things in ancient texts. A nexus bond means that the two are connected not just in life, but in purpose. They are meant to do something great together. Mirai felt her world shifting. Everything she knew, everything she believed was being challenged. She looked at the humans gathered around. They looked scared, but also hopeful. She looked at her dragons. They looked confused and angry. Then she looked at her daughter, sleeping peacefully in a human's arms. "Jiwon," Mirai said. The human looked at her. "You have saved my daughter. For that I owe you a debt that can never be repaid. But you have also created an impossible situation. According to our laws, my daughter must return with me. She is the heir to the dragon throne. She must be raised among her people and learn our ways. But she cannot survive without you." Jiwon understood what she was saying. "You want me to come with you?" he said quietly. Mirai nodded. "Yes, you would have to come with us to the dragon home world. You would have to live among us. I do not know how my people will react. Many dragons hate humans. Your life would be in danger every day, but it is the only way to save my daughter." The plaza erupted in noise. Dragons roared in protest. Humans shouted objections. It was chaos. The idea of a human living among dragons was unthinkable to most dragons. It was like inviting a wolf into a sheep pen. Many dragons called out that it was too dangerous, that the human would spy on them, that he would betray them. On the human side, people were equally upset. Commander Taeyang stepped forward. "Jiwon is one of our best engineers. We need him here. You cannot just take him away. And we cannot guarantee his safety among your people. This is kidnapping." Jiwon listened to everyone argue. He looked down at the baby dragon in his arms. She had woken up and was looking at him with her bright blue eyes. She made a small chirping sound as if asking him what was wrong. In that moment, Jiwon realized something. He had a choice to make, and it was the most important choice of his life. He raised his voice over the noise. "Stop, everyone, please stop." The crowd fell silent. Everyone looked at him. Jiwon took a deep breath. His hands were shaking, but his voice was clear. "I will go with the dragons," Yoonji pushed forward. "Jiwon, no. You cannot. They will kill you." Other humans joined her, trying to convince him to change his mind. But Jiwon shook his head. "I gave this baby dragon my blood. I created a bond with her, even though I did not understand what I was doing. I cannot break that bond now. If I stay here, she dies. I will not let that happen." Taeyang put his hand on Jiwon's shoulder. "Son, think about this carefully. You would be alone, surrounded by creatures who see you as an enemy. You might never see another human again. You might never come home." Jiwon felt tears in his eyes, but he smiled. "I know, but when I found her, I made a promise to myself. I promised I would keep her safe. I cannot break that promise even if it costs me everything." Mirai watched the human with growing respect. She had seen many brave warriors in her long life, but this human's courage was different. He was not brave because he was strong or because he knew how to fight. He was brave because he cared more about another life than his own safety. That was the rarest kind of courage. Daeho, the warrior dragon, stepped forward again. "Empress, I must protest. This is madness. We cannot bring a human to our home world. What if he brings diseases? What if he is a spy? What if other humans use him as an excuse to attack us?" Other dragons voiced similar concerns. They circled around Mirai, their voices growing louder. They were not openly defying her, but they were making their displeasure known. The Dragon Emperor ruled with absolute power, but even she had to listen to the concerns of her people. Hyunwoo raised his hand for silence. "There is a way," he said. "The old laws speak of this situation. When a life bond forms between two different species, the law allows for something called sanctuary bond. The human would not be a prisoner, but neither would he be truly free. He would be bound to protect the princess with his life, and in return the Dragon Empire would protect him. Anyone who harmed him would face the Emperor's wrath." Mirai considered this. A sanctuary bond. I have not heard of such a thing in centuries. Are you certain it is still valid law? Hyunwoo nodded. It is ancient law, but it was never revoked. It still stands. One of the older dragons, a female named Sora, spoke up. If we invoke sanctuary bond, the human becomes part of the royal household. He would have to be treated as a guardian to the princess. That gives him status and protection. But it also means we are accepting him as one of us. Many will not like this. Mirai looked around at her dragons. Does anyone have a better solution? She asked. No one spoke. Then we will invoke sanctuary bond. Jiwan will come with us as guardian to my daughter. He will be under my personal protection. Any dragon who harms him will answer to me directly. The dragons bowed their heads in acceptance. They might not like it, but the emperor had spoken. Her word was law. Taeyang looked at Jiwan with sad eyes. Are you sure about this, son? Jiwan nodded. Yes, sir. I am sure. Yunji wiped tears from her eyes. She pulled Jiwan into a hug. You are the bravest person I know, she whispered. Please stay alive. Find a way to send us messages. Let us know you are okay. Jiwan hugged her back. I will try. Other humans came forward to say goodbye. Some shook his hand. Some hugged him. Some just looked at him with respect and sadness. They all knew they might never see him again. Jiwan felt his heart breaking, but he kept his tears inside. He had to be strong now. Mirai walked over to Taeyang. Commander, I give you my word. No harm will come to Jiwan while he is under my protection. In return, I ask that you do not attack my fleet while we are in orbit. Taeyang studied her face. Dragons were known for many things, but not for keeping promises to humans. Still, something in Mirai's eyes told him she was sincere. Very well, he said. We will not attack. But know this, Dragon Emperor. If any harm comes to Jiwan, there will be war. We will fight you with everything we have. Mirai respected the threat. Understood. I would expect nothing less. She turned to Jiwan. We leave now. Say your final goodbyes. Jiwan looked around the colony one last time. This place had been his home for 5 years. He knew every building, every street, every face. He had friends here. He had a life here. And now he was leaving it all behind for a tiny dragon who depended on him. Yunji gave him a small datapad. I loaded this with messages from everyone, and I put some books and music on it, something to remember us by. Jiwan took the pad and tucked it in his pocket. Thank you. Mirai transformed back into her full dragon form. She was massive and magnificent. She lowered herself so Jiwan could climb onto her back. Hold on to my daughter tightly, she instructed. Hold on to the ridge on my neck with your other hand. Do not let go. Jiwan climbed onto the Dragon Emperor's back. The scales were warm and smooth under his hands. He held the baby dragon carefully with one arm and gripped the ridge on Mirai's neck with his other hand. The baby dragon seemed excited. She chirped loudly and spread her tiny wings. Other dragons took flight around them. They rose into the air in formation like a military squadron. Humans on the ground watched as the dragon fleet prepared to leave. Mirai looked down at the colony one last time. Your friend showed my daughter mercy when he could have let her die. I will not forget this. Perhaps in time our people can learn to show each other the same mercy. With a powerful thrust of her wings, Mirai launched into the sky. Jiwan held on tight as they climbed higher and higher. The wind rushed past his face. His stomach dropped as they accelerated. He looked down and saw the colony getting smaller and smaller. He saw Yunji and Taeyang and all his friends waving goodbye. He waved back, even though he knew they probably could not see him anymore. They flew higher through the red clouds of Velthara, past the atmosphere, and into the darkness of space. In the distance, Jiwan could see the Dragon Fleet's main ships. They were enormous, like floating cities made of metal and magic. Hundreds of dragons flew alongside them, an escort fit for an emperor. The baby dragon in Jiwan's arms looked up at the stars and made happy sounds. Despite everything, despite the fear and uncertainty, Jiwan felt a small bit of joy. This little creature was alive and healthy because of him. Whatever happened next, at least he had done that much good. Mirai's voice spoke directly into his mind. It was strange, like hearing someone talk inside his head. Can you hear me, human? Jiwan was startled. Yes, how are you doing that? Dragon telepathy. I can communicate with anyone riding on my back. Listen carefully, Jiwan. The journey to our homeworld will take 3 days. In that time, you must learn basic dragon customs and laws. If you offend the wrong dragon, I might not be able to protect you. They flew through space for hours. Ji-won had never been on a dragon's back before. It was terrifying and amazing at the same time. The baby dragon stayed close to him, keeping him warm. Space was cold, but dragon magic created a bubble of warmth around them. Ji-won could breathe normally even though they were in the vacuum of space. Eventually, they approached one of the massive ships. It was beautiful, made of a material that looked like crystal and metal combined. Patterns of light flowed across its surface like rivers. A large opening appeared in the side of the ship, and Mirai flew inside. They landed in a huge hangar bay. Other dragons were already there, transforming into their humanoid forms. Mirai transformed as well. She helped Ji-won down from her back. His legs were shaky from the long flight. "Come," she said. "I will show you to your quarters. You and my daughter will stay in the royal wing of the ship." They walked through corridors that seemed to be made of living light. Everything was beautiful but alien. Dragons in humanoid form stopped and stared as they passed. Some looked curious. Many looked angry. Ji-won heard whispers following them. "That is the human." He touched the princess. "What is the Empress thinking?" Mirai ignored the whispers. She led Ji-won to a large room with high ceilings. The walls were decorated with pictures of dragons and ancient battles. There was a bed that looked too small for a dragon but perfect for a human. There was also a large cushioned area near the window, clearly meant for the baby dragon. "This will be your room," Mirai said. "My daughter's nursery is connected through that door. You will stay close to her at all times. Hyunwoo will come soon to teach you what you need to know. Rest now. You have had a difficult day." Before she left, Ji-won called out to her. "Empress Mirai?" She turned back. "Yes?" "Thank you," Ji-won said, "for not destroying the colony. For giving me a chance." Mirai looked at him for a long moment. "Do not thank me yet, Ji-won. The hardest part is still ahead. There are many dragons who want you dead. Some will try to kill you even though I have forbidden it. You must be very careful." She left and Ji-won was alone with the baby dragon. He sat on the bed and placed the little dragon next to him. She immediately curled up against his side and began to purr. "Well, little one," Ji-won said softly. "We are in this together now. I do not know what will happen, but I promise I will keep you safe." The baby dragon looked up at him and made a chirping sound. Then she did something surprising. She spoke. Her voice was small and high-pitched like a young child. "Ji-won's safe." Ji-won's eyes went wide. "You can talk?" "Ji-won." "Safe," the baby dragon repeated. "Love, Ji-won." Tears ran down Ji-won's face. This small creature, who he had known for only a few days, trusted him completely. She loved him. In that moment, Ji-won knew he had made the right choice. No matter what happened, no matter how dangerous it became, he would protect this baby dragon with his life. Over the next 3 days, Hyunwoo came to teach Ji-won about dragon culture. He learned that dragons valued strength, honor, and loyalty above all else. He learned that showing weakness was dangerous. He learned the proper way to greet dragons of different ranks. He learned which topics were forbidden to discuss. The baby dragon, whom Mirai officially named Youngseo, grew stronger each day. She could now fly short distances. She was learning more words. She followed Ji-won everywhere, never leaving his side. Other dragons began to notice how happy and healthy she was. Some of their anger began to fade when they saw how well Ji-won cared for her. On the 3rd day, they arrived at the dragon homeworld. It was called Seraphon, and it was the most beautiful planet Ji-won had ever seen. It had purple skies and golden mountains. There were forests made of trees that glowed in the dark. Rivers of crystal-clear water flowed through valleys filled with flowers. And everywhere there were dragons, thousands of them flying through the sky, living in massive cities carved into the mountains. The ship landed at the royal palace. It was built into the largest mountain on the planet. The palace was enormous, with towers that reached into the clouds. Mirai led Ji-won and Youngseo through the palace gates. Dragons lined the streets, watching them pass. Some bowed to their empress. Others stared at Ji-won with hatred. Inside the palace, the Council of Elders was waiting. These were the oldest and most powerful dragons in the empire. They had lived for thousands of years. They were the ones who advised the empress and helped make important decisions. When Mirai entered the council chamber with Ji-won and Youngseo, the elders stood. The head elder, an ancient dragon named Jinwoo, spoke first. "Empress Mirai, you have brought a human to our sacred home. Explain yourself." Mirai told them everything. She explained about the life bond, about the prophecy. about how Ji-won had saved Young-seo without expecting anything in return. Some of the elders listened with open minds. Others looked skeptical. One elder, a stern female named Bora, spoke up. Even if the prophecy is true, how do we know this human will not betray us? How do we know he is not a spy? Ji-won spoke up before Mirai could answer. Because I gave up everything to come here. I left my home, my friends, my entire life. I did this for one reason only, to protect Young-seo. If I wanted to betray you, I would have stayed on Velthara and used her as a hostage. The elders murmured among themselves. They were surprised that the human spoke so boldly. Most humans would be too scared to speak in front of the council. Jinwoo studied Ji-won carefully. You are brave, human. But bravery alone is not enough. You must prove yourself worthy of the sanctuary bond. You must prove that you can be trusted. How? Ji-won asked. You will undergo the trial of worth, Jinwoo said. It is an ancient test. If you pass, you will be accepted as guardian to the princess. If you fail, you will be exiled from our world, and the princess will have to survive without you. Mirai looked alarmed. The trial of worth is dangerous. Many dragons have failed it. Ji-won is only human. He does not have our strength or magic. Then he will have to use what he does have, Jinwoo said calmly. Intelligence, courage, and heart. The trial begins tomorrow at dawn. That night, Ji-won could not sleep. He was terrified. He did not know what the trial would involve, but he knew it would be difficult. Young-seo sensed his fear. She climbed onto his chest and looked into his eyes. Ji-won. Strong? She said in her small voice. Ji-won, brave. He hugged her gently. I will do my best, little one. When dawn came, Ji-won was taken to an arena deep inside the mountain. The arena was massive, carved from black stone. Thousands of dragons had gathered to watch. They filled the seats, their voices echoing off the walls. Ji-won stood in the center of the arena, feeling very small and very alone. Jinwoo's voice boomed across the arena. Ji-won, human engineer from the colony of Velthara. You stand accused of bonding with royal blood. To prove your worth, you must complete 3 tasks. First, you must face the beast of fear. Second, you must solve the puzzle of wisdom. Third, you must make the choice of sacrifice. Do you accept these terms? Ji-won's voice was steady. I accept. The first task began immediately. A gate opened and a massive creature emerged. It looked like a dragon but twisted and dark. It was called a shadow beast, a creature made from pure fear. It could sense what people were afraid of and use that fear against them. The shadow beast roared and charged at Ji-won. He had no weapons, no armor. He only had himself. The beast came closer, and suddenly Ji-won saw images around him. He saw his friends from the colony dying. He saw Young-seo suffering. He saw himself alone and forgotten. These were his deepest fears, made visible by the beast's magic. For a moment, Ji-won froze. The fear was overwhelming. But then he remembered why he was here. He remembered the tiny dragon who depended on him. He remembered his promise. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. These are just illusions, he said to himself. They are not real. My fear is not real. When he opened his eyes, the images were gone. He could see the shadow beast for what it really was, a creature that fed on fear, and if it could not make him afraid, it had no power. Ji-won stood his ground. The beast charged again, but this time Ji-won did not run. He stood still and calm. The beast reached him and then disappeared. It could not harm someone who did not fear it. The crowd gasped. Many dragons had failed the first task. They had run or fought, and both responses failed because the beast fed on fear and violence. But Ji-won had found the answer, acceptance and calmness. The second task was presented. A complex puzzle appeared on the floor of the arena. It was made of light and symbols. Jinwoo spoke again. Solve the puzzle and you pass. You have until the sun moves from one mark to another. That gave Ji-won about 1 hour. Ji-won looked at the puzzle carefully. It was written in ancient dragon language, which he could not read. But Hyunwoo had taught him something important. Dragon language was not just words, it was also math and music. The symbols represented concepts, not letters. Ji-won sat down and started to work. He used logic and pattern recognition. He looked for mathematical relationships between the symbols. Slowly, piece by piece, the puzzle began to make sense. With only minutes to spare, he solved it. The symbols glowed brightly and formed a single word in the common language. Compassion, the crowd murmured. The puzzle's answer was different for everyone, reflecting what they needed to learn. For Ji-won, the answer was compassion. the very quality that had brought him here.